this point, they would vote for their own annihilation. Just give them a chance. Don't worry, they're going to be putting their hands. At the same time, you might wonder, well, how many patriots are there? How many people would not put up with it and rebel? What would a civil war look like in this world? Well, it's something that nobody wants. It's something that, but I realize now, there's no way for us to live together. There's no way for us to live together forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. Never will we ever have peace. Word. We cannot live together with them, and they cannot live together with us. And there is an us and there's a them. And it's almost genetic, because we're born that way. We're born the way we are. Let me ask you a question. You got guilt? You got shame? You down on yourself for not doing a better job? You're one of us. Get yourself right. Get on your knees and get right with the Lord right now. In Jesus' name, amen. Because that's where you belong. And then the people that are your family, your real family, are people that think likewise. Okay? People that you can relate to are people that are your family. The reason you can't relate to them is because they see life a different way. They see it through a collective lens that basically has nothing to do with reality at all. They just see what their masters tell them to see. And they do whatever their celebrity influencer tells them to do. They worship the celebrities. They worship them like gods and goddesses. And the Bible tells us, don't worship man. Don't make idols. Don't worship, celebrities. Don't worship the golden calf or things that, can't talk and can't see, or things that you carve and you want people to bow down. Don't do that. Don't worship AI. Don't let it under your skin so you can begin to make it better, Jude. Because that's a sure way to annihilation. That's a sure way. And by the way, someone should ask Paul McCartney, after doing that song, if he's a happy person. Every time I look at him, he seems completely miserable. Every time I see him. The only happy one of the Beatles that ever got out of there was Ringo, the drummer. The rest of them are all, Paul is a billionaire. He's the richest musician. I bring him up because he's the wealthiest musician in the world right now. Right? It would have been Michael Jackson. But something happened along the way. He was not being obedient, was he? He was another guy that was, could have been a prodigal son. He was just misplaced, in my opinion. He's kind of like Justin Bieber in a way. I mean, you feel sorry for him because you realize, my God, this kid got caught up in wanting to be successful and all that, and they completely manipulated him, and they completely branded him, and mind controlled him, and molded him into this rock star guy. And now it's all coming out, how the king makers work, how the celebrity makers work, how the star maker really works. The star makers are mainly just perverts and assholes. And all they're trying to do is make more money, and that's where their power comes from. And then at the same time, they have a proclivity for perversion. And they want to make perversion normal. Like right now, they have a thing called sex-positive therapy and kink-aware therapy. Are you aware of that? Kink-aware? I think it's even trademarked. I may be wrong on that. But they're trying to normalize your kinky, your fetishes and all your stuff as normal. I can tell you one thing. Fetishes, psychological abuse, satanic ritual abuse, satanic abuse, any of this stuff, when we're children, comes back to haunt us in the way of, they provide fetishes, they provide, what I'm looking at here, and when I'm analyzing it, is because I'm seeing so many people reacting the same way to the same stimuli. For example, all the different little themes of perversion. You know what they are. So, but you see like thousands of people millions of people lined up for this one. Millions of people lined up for the bondage. Millions of people lined up for that over there. Millions of people lining up for being peed on or defecated on. Millions of people, right? And you don't see one person. You see millions. Millions. And as a part of making this the satanic earth, all this must be normalized, including pedophilia, which is basically people look the other way on it, say in Europe and different places, they consider it to be, completely normal and there's not a problem with it. What I see what is wrong is that anything that creates a trauma in a child, for example, it's not just like consensual sex. It's like you're the child, I'm the adult, I tell you what to do. You know what I mean? And then you do it. It's a form of slavery. And if you don't, then you're going to have a bad reputation, and everything's going to go bad for you. And everyone's going to hate you. And you're not going to get anywhere. And life will just be a very sour pill. And that's the way they've sold it up to now. And now, of course, they're enforcing it in schools. It won't be long before it metastasizes into being the norm. And you know who the influences are. I keep up with it. There's a notorious guy named Jeffrey Marsh on Instagram. I probably shouldn't even mention him, but he's such an advocate for all this stuff. And he's, I don't know how to categorize him, but he's very influential on moving the needle toward, open pedophilia and open, sex positive for all people, including children. That means no guilt, no shame. Throw that away. That was the old patriarchal God, the old patriarchy. Here we are in the new age, and sex should be an open thing. It shouldn't be any big deal. And more and more, what I see with young people is, and I'm not just young people, but people that have been married, this and that. I see them, jumping into this one guy was, I'm not going to go into who it is, but they were, very influential as a talk show person. And they were explaining how, they were getting a divorce, then they were trying to, deal with the sexuality problem. How they were feeling, what led to the divorce. So they hopped into bed with 10, 12 lovers, only to find that didn't work. So, like a ricochet thing. They were denied all those years they were being good in their marriage, and then they go wild. Then they find out that doesn't work, and then the only other step after that is to return to God, to return to the Spirit, to return to wholeness, to obviously, if people don't understand this, all of those trysts open up doorways and passages to create soul ties. Soul ties are like openings for demonic possession. And possession doesn't have to be like, Linda Blair and The Exorcist. It could be just, a subtle thing where the person, you're just not the same. I don't know who you are anymore. What happened to you? And it's like, and the person has all these different voices from. And they're in bondage. They got snared. And the reason God warns us about lust and adultery and things like that is because it's not so much somebody punishing you for being sexual. It's not so much that at all. It's more like if you go that route, the libertine route, this is what will happen to you because this is the way it was set up at the beginning. And it's not that you're being judged and punished. You have free will. You have every right to go out and have sex with as many partners as you want. Part of the Burning Man and do the orgies and the whole bit. The whole thing, though, is that what you don't realize is that the consequences are laid out. The whole reason for the Ten Commandments and all that is twofold. One, we fail if we try to live by that. That's why we need Jesus. sin. And God is saying that if you do these things, you can't say when, but say you murder people. Just because somebody you don't like says something, you go ahead and murder them, like they want to murder Trump. You murder them. Well, eventually there's consequences. You feel that it's okay to be libertine. Well, probably some of the partners that you have are married and committing adultery, and you caused them to do that. There are consequences on you. It's got nothing to do with what someone thinks like, boy, you're a bad girl, you've been cheating. Or you're a bad boy, you've been cheating. That's not it. Because everybody would break all the commandments all the time. And how many people have thought about someone really did you wrong and you wanted to murder them? No, you don't have to shit and identify yourselves, but I mean you know who you are, right? Okay, so and you just daydream about that person, driving a car off a cliff or something, and so you're already snagged. And I would contend that something else happened before that bad relationship ever occurred. Something happened before that made you vulnerable to that. And that's, again, we go to the Lord for protection, not for chastisement, but for forgiveness and protection. We may not forgive ourselves. I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have drank that much. I shouldn't have taken those pills. I shouldn't have hurt myself like that, because now look what's happened, I shouldn't have. Damn me. Fuck you, you asshole. You shouldn't have done that, you fucking... And Jesus comes along and it's like, you're forgiven. I love you. I knew you were going to do everything that you've done before you were ever born. And I chose you. So, once we understand that, the real truth, not the fake truth, but the real truth. He knew everything we were going to do, even if we can't even admit it to ourselves. And so we need to cover with the blood, which is unconditional love of the living God, of the Creator, to shield us back to our prior state, or our eternal state, where we belong, where God actually gave us over to Jesus and said, these are my lambs, and they're in a lot of trouble here. You've got to protect them. And so one of the things that Jesus is for protection, as well as healing. Anyway, so the other thing is, he's our shelter. He's Isaiah 41:10. He's Psalm 23. He's our shelter. Psalm 91. He's our shelter. We want to be hidden under the wings of the Most High, right? He's our shelter and protects us from the arrow that flies by night, or the sword by day, or any of that. And so now, as we look at the specter of World War III by a bunch of selfish, impetuous children who can't seem to grow up, and we're all held hostage by it. I just have to have faith in the Lord that He's going to have His way. They're not going to have their way. Now, I can't tell you that that's going to turn around, or that the birds won't fly and there won't be millions of people dead. It only takes 72 minutes to annihilate the entire earth. And if that's God's will, so be it. I can understand why God would wipe it out with fire. Look how people are acting. And like I just went through this whole thing about the leadership of the world is basically a perverted pedophiliac organization trying to normalize. You know why they traffic so much in America? Because America is the biggest promoter of children. Child labor, child sex. The world's never seen. And And every one of us is paying our tax dollars to that end. And if that doesn't make it, and that is why there would be an annihilation of the United States. God will put his foot down. He won't put up with it. Either we eradicate it or he will annihilate us. That's just the way it is. So how do you get involved? Well, there's plenty of ways to get involved. Just reach out, go on the internet, find out organizations that are fighting this, whatever. There's a million ways. Just saw a movie last night about trafficking. Heartbreaker called City of Dreams. And it's about a kid from Mexico that gets trafficked up to Los Angeles, to the garment district, and put into slavery. And whenever he tries to be himself or rebel or do anything, he gets beaten badly. He finally escapes, and finally he kind of causes the whole place to come down as a because they're doing the sweat lodge. They're doing the garment sweat lodge stuff in the bottom of the building that they rent, and then the upstairs they're doing the pedophilia. So they're getting the kids. I guess in this case it was like a 12 or 13-year-old girl, and they take videotape and they sell the video, and they launched her. She gets chosen by somebody comes in and chooses these kids that are going to be used for sex trafficking. And how long do you think they live, folks? How long do you think they live? 2 years? No more than 5, but maybe 3. So if she's lucky, she'll live to be 15. And they enjoy killing the kids. They make it a rite of passage, like if you want to be with us and on this team, it's not enough for you to just go have sex with a kid. Now you got to go back in there and cut their throat on tape.
Oh, God.
If you can't do that, then you don't get to share in the millions and billions of dollars and all the great stuff we have for you. Because the other guy over here, he's ready to go right now. If you're not, you're going to count your blessings. You were chosen for this. You're going to be an elite. You're going to be the top of the world. All you got to do is just dig the knife in. And I suppose if you don't want to make a mess, you can just strangle the kid. How's that sound? Unfortunately, that's the way the entertainment business works. The entertainment business is really all about trafficking children. Ask Disney. Ask the bosses at Disney if you can get them in between trysts with kids. Ask them. What do they think of Disney's programs for kids? Do they have any responsibility whatsoever about putting out messages that sexualize children? Walt Disney, Mr. 666. Now, well, I remember him when I was a little kid. He didn't touch me. He didn't. I was with my grandfather. He was launching his new submarine ride at Disneyland, and so we went there and met him. And my grandfather wanted to test out their submarine. He wanted to see the ride. So we got in there. And he made a big deal out of his signature. Walt Disney. He made it so that you had these X's across like the eye and different things, definitely made it a satanic signature. And I think that he couldn't exactly do anything on the submarine. But he definitely gave me creeps, for sure. As do they all. They can tell I'm not down with their stupidity and their, just being a blight on the earth, walking around, and because they let you in on the tennis court or they give you a Rolls Royce, or you get to go on a your own private yacht or a plane or whatever, that doesn't stop the truth of it, of what you had to do for it. That doesn't stop the truth of who you really are, meaning you don't care. And people don't care. And when they're beating this kid senseless in this movie, it's called City of Dreams, and I highly recommend it. It'll break your heart, but I highly recommend it. And when they're whipping him and all that, everyone stands back and watches. You know, if they all jumped in to rebel, they could have killed that fucking asshole. And then he's tied in with big business, the garment industry. So he's protected by, wait. So who protects the child trafficking? The LAPD. All right? The district attorney. The state and the city. And all they were trying to do when this one cop was on it, he was trying to help. They told him he had to stand down. They chastised him and said, you know, you're going to lose your job unless you back off this case right now. So he didn't back off the case. You know why? Because, you know, he needs to put food on the table for his family. And see, that's the problem. Nobody's going to stand up for the guy fighting back because they got to put food on their table. They don't want to be covered. So here we have this horrible situation. And there's only one way that's going to be fixed. You know the way that is? Only God can fix it. But what we can do is we can align with God. We can speak out like I am now. I'm thinking just to let them know, hey, bub, I do know everything that's going on, and I've known it since I was a child. And I've never been wrong. Ever. Oh, I may have had a detail here or there, not completely, and then I corrected it. But I mean, in terms of the big picture, never been wrong. Never been wrong. Never been wrong. But the people that are playing the game, they don't want to hear what I have to say. They don't want to hear what you have to say. They don't want to hear any of this. Well, all they want is everyone to be quiet and go along and have their little life and their little soirees and feel like they're important. You know, go to their country clubs and their beach clubs. Feel like they really are. They really scored. Well, you scored all right. You scored high in the kingdom of Satan. You scored high in the very thing that you hate, you're doing. So you got to get out of there. Let me tell you something. I remember when my father rented a place in the Malibu colony. It was on the beach. After he won, it was really a fixed game of craps in Vegas, and they let him win because he was, good friends with the owner. And I won't go further than that. I'll just say that he took his winnings and he leased this house for 2 years. And it was fine. There was surfing out front, and, around the point there was like Surfers Beach, with big Malibu Point Break. And so I was there as a kid, and I met the guy next door and all the people. And many people drunk wandering around the Malibu colony because it's a private road with a guard, but I had this friend. He came over and he was talking to me about this. When this lease was over, my parents were saying, well, they can go to the beach club or whatever, this beach club. And my friend was telling me, no, you're not acceptable. And I wondered, Why did he go out of his way? I mean, we're friends. He was on a sleepover. And we're supposed to be buddies. Why was he telling me that I wouldn't be? So eventually I got set up there for drug possession, but it had to be dropped because of whatever someone did. Anyway, he was right. But I never really thought about that until right now. I never really thought about that, but I was warned. Don't go there. You'll never be accepted. And I suppose it's because, I mean, I guess how old were we? 10? 9, 10, 11? Right around in there. And, and then eventually all these, the reason he said that is because of the way that I guess I freaked out or whatever. I became traumatized with all the shit that they would pull. The family and my parties and the orgies and their shit. Pure bullshit. and because of that, I was warned, no, don't go there. Well, I didn't last too long. I'll have you know that I left bored out of my mind at the fact that nobody had an IQ above, say, 70. People there were genuinely stupid. I mean, the dumbest people I've ever met in my life were at that beach club. Dumb as all get out. But, were they dumb or were they just covering up the truth? I'm sure they were all just covering up the truth and playing the game. But the point is, why would I want to go somewhere where I'm just, on display and people are just sizing up, adults are sizing up, how they're going to get you in bed. That's basically it. And, life goes on. They have their marriages and their weddings and their graduations, and everybody's happy, Everyone's real happy. But let me tell you something. The fallout is a lot of the kids committed suicide. A lot of them, couldn't handle it. In some cases, they try to kill their parents. In some cases, they don't know how to handle the trauma. Something happened to them, and they haven't been able to process it. And everyone's saying, look the other way, look the other way, look the other way, look the other way. It never happened. Nothing ever happened. This is a great life. Don't screw it up.
Jesus.
In other words, shut the fuck up. Accept the way it is. I can't because my soul cannot accept the degradation of children. And, cannot accept my daughter committing suicide. Cannot accept me being suicided for mentioning something I saw. I can't tolerate that being in prison my whole life and having some kind of muzzle on my face. And that's what it is. That's Beverly Hills. That's high society. That's the West Side. That's the Martha's Vineyard. That's New York. That's D.C. That's the whole shit and kabang. That's it. Every one of these people is in bondage. Every one of these people is in prison. Nobody can say anything about anything. They just live day to day.
If they're
in not so quiet desperation. Because
they
they like
won't
to
last
have
in
wars
prison very long.
to put their cares on, and elections, and
I'll
wars,
tell you
and
that.
cheat,
Sons of
steal,
bitches.
rob, destroy. And anyone that doesn't like it, I take great relish and great enjoyment in ruining your life. I mean, when they tried to ruin my life, as a beginning in really preteen. Not one of I didn't have one friend that stuck up for me. Not one friend that, nobody. Well, when I met Trish hung in there with me, but I'm just saying, when I was a child, there's nobody. Everybody laughed. They thought, look at this guy trying to fight the whole world, They already accepted that's the way it was. Basically, people are just orifices, ready to be plugged by perverts. I am, I can't even believe I put up with that. I'm amazed I didn't commit suicide. Anyway, this, I predicted when I was a child, would be the downfall of humanity and society. But guess what, ladies and gentlemen? This is the downfall of society. Now, will we have another society built on the ashes of this destruction that's going on now? I sure hope not.
Hey guys, this is the
If you
madman
want to build something on
politician guy.
faith in Jesus Christ, I'm all in. Count me in. Count me in, man of faith. Jesus has never let me down. But in terms of
Like the
making
comments,
a go of
leave them down
things,
the
I
bottom.
wouldn't know what to do unless I consult with the Lord first. Pray first.
This is on
And act
WWCR.
second. God first and act second.
4.84
As long as you put God first, you'll
megahertz.
have a life that's consequential.
I don't
in a
even
good
know
way.
this state. I don't even
It'll
know the
affect
name
other
of this
people in a good way.
radio
To help
program is.
people grow out of their trauma. Right now, because
It
you're hearing
starts
me,
at like
you're already getting a healing on your trauma.
3
You're already out of your
o'clock
trauma. All you gotta do is
Eastern
you
Standard
hear
Time
me, right?
AM
You
until
relate to me
4
exactly.
o'clock or 5 o'clock it
So
ends, I think.
you're not alone. So God sees everything you've been through. So right now, this moment, you're not alone.
Love
Rejoice.
the comments.
Hallelujah.
Put the comments
I woke
below.
up this morning, I realized
This guy tells the
I am
truth.
not alone.
I think this guy's great. I think he's crazy,
I am not alone.
but he doesn't put up with
I
the
am not
bullshit.
alone.
He'll tell you how it is, just like it is.
And I'm very thankful for people that love me, that will cover some of my foibles up, even though I'm still a sinner, unfortunately, and gotten a lot better at it though. I've struggled with it, and I have to admit I'm beginning to get clarity. I understand why sin is there. It's not, Al Pacino in The Devil's Advocate. That's not it at all. It's there. It's talked about in order to help you not get killed. Because you can't be against Satan and against sin. If you're against Satan and you're trying to go with Jesus and you're against sin, you will actually sin more if you haven't figured it out yet. The only source that we've got is the Creator that made us. And if we don't have that, then we're kind of on our own, right? But the Lord will then eventually catch up to us, and this is for some people out there, and He'll say, wait a second, you were never alone. You were never alone. I was with you the whole time. It was important for you to be feeling like you were alone, to see if your faith would carry you through, and it did. So rejoice, you've done well. Stop beating yourself up. If you fall to sin, get up and stop it and go on without it. Just go and sin no more. That makes sense? I don't know any other way to thwart this, what has happened. I mean, I know that even if Trump wins, they're planning on going to full-scale civil war. That would be locking down cities, violence, burning down the house. But I have to tell you one thing. If you try that, you stupid motherfuckers. If you even try it, all you people that are warmongering right now, who were so liberal before, and now you're warmongers, you're disgusting. You're really like, what's his name, the Black Sabbath song? You're war pigs. You're pigs. And this time, well, they put up a big 43-foot nude, crooked, and obscene Trump statue. Sure, they'll probably, they're not done with these Trump statues. I can see that they've done this in the desert north of Las Vegas. Well, that's fine. That kind of mocking is what they did to Jesus. They mocked Jesus. Oh yeah, King of the Jews. Here's your crown. Oh yeah, I They couldn't wait to stick him with a spear. They couldn't wait. They were die, motherfucker. Why? He only brought peace and work. Because that's not what they're interested in.
I'm just laughing at
Like I
him
told you
swearing,
before in
not
the
at
beginning,
what
that
he's talking
people
about.
are really
I'm
warmongers.
just laughing what he just said.
They really are totalitarians. They want human story. The people that built this statue, all they want is to lock down the entire civilization and then torture everyone to death. That's all they are. They're totalitarians. The way that you should treat Trump is it shouldn't really matter. He's there running. He's the alternative to Kamala. But the only reason they do this is because they know. They know. But anyway, whoever did it is a petulant, retarded child that needs to be smacked hard right in the face. And you know what? This time you're going to get that fuckhead. Now, who's this? Looks like 10:30. Okay, folks. Well, that's it for me. It's preaching. Preaching Jesus and Him crucified and us under the blood. I plead the blood of Jesus on everyone who's listening to this podcast right now in Jesus' name, amen. May you be safe under the wing of the Most High.
You are listening to Worldwide Christian Radio, Nashville, Tennessee, USA.